You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.
This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. A weekly recap of your Philadelphia Flyers from blue line to blue line. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's, tonight's show is brought to you by Hand and Stone Spa, Pat Dion Beverages, The Capitol Grill, Chickies and Pete's, Payroll Service Solutions, and Independence Blue Cross. We now go live to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Now, here are your hosts, former Flyer Brad Marsh and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to the beautiful new Chickies and Pete's. Not a new Chickies and Pete's, but an addition they built to this beautiful Chickies and Pete's in Warrington on 6/11 on a busy night around the Delaware Valley. This is On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross, right here on 1490 WBCB, 107.3 FM, and seen live at YouTube at WBCB Sports. I'm Paul Jolovitz. My co-host is Mr. Bradley Marsh. Actually, I was looking you up yesterday. Your real first name is not Brad, is it?
Correct.
What is it?
I thought you looked me up.
I forgot. Walter?
No, it's Charles.
Charles Bradley Marsh.
Yes.
So how did you start to get called Brad?
I don't know. That's what my parents did right from the get-go. And
all right. So they named you one thing.
It's a little confusing at times, especially when you get pulled over.
There we are.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good intro, actually, to this week. Our guest tonight is Jimmy Watson. He'll be here in a couple minutes as traffic allows. Very interesting week for the Flyers. Pulled out of last place in the NHL. Had a pretty successful road trip. Good win the other night, although they lost a 3-goal lead. They won against the Sharks, who are not a very good team. They got Celebrini and not much else. But John Tortorella, the coach this week, didn't like the way things were going, obviously. Said, yeah, you might be our best player. You're our future, to Matvei Michkov. Didn't like the way he was playing 5-on-5, and for whatever reason, scratched him 2 games. I had no problem with it at all. A huge reaction to it. A lot of people, you can't scratch Michkov. You don't learn anything sitting. Blah, 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 blah. 2 very different sides. There were plenty of people on each side, Brad. To me, if he wants him to learn, it's his team. He's a coach. Quarterback sit. We know the whole thing about Joel Embiid, which is not injury. It's injury related. Did you have a problem with Michkov sitting? If it was at home, I would have had a problem. On the road, I didn't. Then he came back and scored a goal.
No, I have no problem with it. I mean, it's the coach's choice, and
Yep.
he sees a lot more than the average fan. No disrespect to the fans watching at
Yep.
home, but he sees a lot more. He's got a good feel for the ice, but more importantly, has a good feel for the everyday goings and comings of the Philadelphia Flyers in the dressing room, on the practice rink, et cetera, et cetera. So the player, you take away a player's ice time or a playing time, whatever sport it is, and that really hits home. And so I don't know, sitting in a press box, if you learn anything, but it sure is a wake-up call. And I've been around a lot of players, and sometimes the wake-up call doesn't register. They pout. They get sulky. They get moody. They blame everybody else except themselves. And so there's 2 ways to react to a situation like that. You pout or you come out full of piss and vinegar, and that's what he did.
When you were scratched, I mean, you played a long time. You were a hell of a player, but everybody has ups and downs in life. Do you remember getting scratched and what that was like?
Yeah, it like I said, you take away the ice time and it hurts.
It's not about a fine. It's about playing time, right?
That's right. Yeah, fines mean nothing, especially nowadays. They make so
Yep.
much money. They fine someone $500. That's no big deal. But the playing time really does hurt, and that's about the only thing that a coach can do in pro sports now. Back when I played, they could threaten to send you down and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays, there's really no movement.
That's a great point.
But you can move them up to the press box and back down to the bench. And so right now it worked. 1 game it worked, but it's a long season. We'll see how he continues to respond.
19 years old, coming over from Russia. Obviously, nobody's seen it all or done it all. Or even Gretzky had his flaws. Not many, but he had them. So Michkov, 5-on-5. Tortorella had a problem with that. You mentioned the coach sees more than fans or us. You probably see as a player, obviously. Sees more than I do, that's for sure. So he comes out last week or last night, last game, I'll get it straight at some point, with Paling and others on his line. How do you feel he played defensively? I thought he played a very good defensive game.
Well, I don't sit and watch it like you would as a sports reporter, looking for this and looking for that. I just watched it as a fan. But in playing the game, it's five guys on the ice working together. And as a forward, and I was a defenseman obviously, and as a forward, if that forward is lackadaisical, the defense pick up on it. And 5-on-5, I know there's a lot of special teams out there, power play, penalty killing, et cetera, but this game still is won and lost 5-on-5 play. And if his 5-on-5 play was not up to par and he wasn't working as a unit and wasn't back checking or was a little lazy on the forecheck and he was chicken hawking, and what I mean by that is he's standing in a position or always waiting for a pass so he can get a scoring chance. Well, you have to create your scoring chances. And so, like I said, Torch is the coach, and it's his prerogative to do what he wants.
All right, if somebody, I'm sure you have a lot of friends around the NHL, live in different cities, you talk to them different amounts of times. Let's say somebody's leafing through the paper, going online, doesn't watch a lot of hockey or doesn't watch a lot of Flyers, gives you a call and says, hey, Brad, I see a lot about this Michkov kid. I know they drafted him high. What's the best thing about him? What would you say?
Well, he's. I don't want to put the franchise tag on him just yet, but he has the ability or the capability to be, a player that's going to lead this franchise back to the playoffs and back to respectability. I shouldn't say back to respectability because we're there, we're working hard, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes we come up a short or very short this year, but he has the ability to be a generational player. That's the word to use now, generational.
That's the word.
Speaking of generations.
Speaking of generations.
We got one from black and white TV days.
Headset doesn't work?
Move around here a little closer to me, buddy.
We have our guest here. Remember the Broad Street Bullies, everybody. Two-time Cup winner, Flyer Hall of Famer, All-Star, all-around great guy, Mr. Jim Watson.
Oh, my gosh.
Late on purpose just so you got that extra round of applause there.
Our second Watson this year. We had you, brother.
Wow, Big Joe. How did Joe get top billing on me? What's the deal there, Paul?
Because you had some work to do, and you weren't able to come for a couple weeks, so he snuck in.
You're younger and better looking.
Hey, Jim, we were talking about Michkov, and I don't want to rehash anything, but you weren't here, obviously. You guys both defensemen. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff with the Flyer defense, which looks like it's evolving, and Jeremy Roenick in the Hall of Fame and the Broad Street Bullies and other things, but you're a pretty disciplined kind of guy. You believe in hard work. You're not a flashy guy. Tortorella scratched Michkov twice this week. Your thoughts?
Well, you know what? I trust Big John. I mean, he's the head coach, and sometimes you need a little wake-up call. And
That's exactly what Brad said.
And you know what? Listen, he sounds like he's a pretty sharp kid, and he's learning the ways of the NHL. Wasn't that way probably over in the KHL. And I think he looked like he took it to heart, and the way he played on Monday night,
Yep.
I mean, he played very well. He was very productive. And he had a little flair.
Yeah.
Kind of nice for the fans, right?
I think it did its job. Do you ever get scratched?
You know what? I don't think I ever did. I don't think I ever did.
Ever?
Well,
Wow.
no, I don't. Well, maybe I might have been beat up a little bit, but not a healthy scratch. I don't believe.
All right. Well, that,
If I did,
think,
I'm not going to admit it.
We're talking about Michkov, and he played a very good game, but he might have been in the doghouse, how it had San Jose scored when he took that penalty at the end of the third period.
No, he's got a lot to learn yet. I mean, you come out, you see these guys, they come out of a high level of college or junior, and then they get to the National Hockey League, and it's a totally different game, right? Everybody's so much better. All the competition you play against, everybody's seasoned veterans, strong, physically strong, mature mentally, and it makes it very much more of a competitive situation for these kids.
But mentally, guys, that's what I want to touch on now. I mean, Celebrini was the first pick in the draft, so he's the same thing as Michkov. They were in the same, ballpark there. When Celebrini kind of goes at him at the end of a game, when you're the star, when you're the stud, when you're Gretzky to be the ultimate, and everybody's trying to get you to push them to do the extra thing to go in the box, how hard is it to resist that? Because Michkov went for that, and that's another level, like you said, Jim.
Well, you know what? To me, it all comes down to maturity. You have to be mature as a person, okay? It starts off the ice. If you've got it together, you know what you want. And, these guys, they seem like real good kids, but they may not be quite there yet. and they've got these lessons they've got to learn. So it's kind of like a feeling out process, if you will. The biggest thing is as long as they're continuing to get better every game, right? That's the key. You know, we always talk about keep improving, and if they keep improving, they're going to be sitting pretty here, right?
Yeah.
And it appears like Mitchkov is learning that, but Brad made a good point. He did take a bad penalty.
The thing I was joking about the penalty he took, but in some ways I didn't mind him standing up for himself in that situation, because that goes through the league, stuff like that. If he turns his cheek and turns away, then the players hear about that. They see that in all the highlight films that are out there, and then they know that they can begin to take advantage of a player such as that. Whereas if he stands up for himself, then some players will think twice about giving him the raspberry in front of the net, or et cetera, et cetera.
You know, he's a tough, hard-nosed kid. You can see that. He's well built, you know, not that tall, but very husky.
Middleweight.
And really doesn't shy away, so it's good.
It is good. By the way, this has zero to do with hockey, but Brad, you put him up a couple times. So did you, Jimmy. This Tyson-Jake Paul fight Saturday night, I don't think Jake Paul lasts 10 seconds. He's favored. I think Tyson kills him. What do you think? You ever follow this at all?
I haven't followed enough.
What are you talking about?
MMA. Jake Paul, the influencer, YouTube influencer, is fighting Mike Tyson.
Oh, that falls into the category. Who cares?
A lot of people care. I could care less. It's selling out a 100,000 seat stadium.
Well, Mike's already tried to intimidate him, saying, "Look at he's a killer."
What's he going to bite his ear again, or what?
That's what a lot of people are thinking. You ever bite anybody's ear off? Either one of you?
Well, we'll see what happens. That should be, it's.
Should be fine. I just wouldn't want to be hit by Mike Tyson. I don't care how old he is. But back to hockey, guys. You were both defensemen. John Tortorella has said, and many coaches have said, they feel the game is built from the goal out. We know about Sam Erson, who's back and playing better. The backup goalie situation could be a little better for the Flyers, but they got a bunch of guys coming. But Cam York, he'll be back soon. Travis St. Ives played very well. Emile Andre this week, who we'll hear about a little later, has been unbelievable. Jamie Drysdale, maybe not quite to expectations. But this defense is evolving pretty quickly. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I like the defense. I mean, but they're evolving, right? Drysdale, you're right. He has to get physically stronger and more explosive. That's the way I read him. He's good with a puck, and he wants to do more offensively. But I don't feel like he has that explosiveness that he needs to be able to get free and create some time and space for himself. All right?
Yeah, the Flyers are a transition team, Brad, and transition requires speed, requires good passing. You agree with Jim that Drysdale's not quite there yet as far as that goes?
No, but it's great to see when you bring a young kid up from the farm team and he steps in and he makes a difference right away.
Oh my gosh!
And he's played really well with Drysdale. Sometimes I think, he's very skilled, very talented, but he at times he's not big enough and strong enough to be that defensive that guy in our defensive zone to move the guys out and clear the front of the net. And although he is quick, he's not quick like a McCarr. He's not quick like the guy in Hughes. There we go, Hughes. And so he's kind of in between, a little bit like Gostisberger, Ghost as we called him, was a couple of years.
Yeah, well, he's
improved.
Yeah, he has.
And he was always in between. He wasn't strong enough defensively, and he just wasn't quite there to be an elite offensive defenseman. So hopefully, he's still young. Hopefully he can mature and grow into it. And you got to remember, he also missed a lot of time with injury prior to us getting him.
So he's on IR now.
Yeah, but listen, you got to make some changes in your game too. You know what? You don't have to be overpowering like a towering defenseman, but you got to be strong and quick and not afraid, right? And you got to win those little one-on battle. So the key, right, is just the blade of the stick of the opposing player. That's what you got to tie up, not his body and not the shaft of the stick, the blade. So all you got to do is tie that up. If you tie that up, you've neutralized the kid. Yeah. Okay, so but I don't see that enough from Drysdale. You got to get in there and win that battle. Okay, you got to lift the stick. You got to tie the stick up.
See, what I love from you is you can see the player and Jim Watson come out. You got to lift the stick.
Well, yeah.
I wish I could play today. Yeah.
But that's the way you got to play it.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to have that juice, that jam, and play with it. And then you can that enables a smaller player to win the battles against the bigger player. He's got to have a bigger heart. Okay, he's got to. If he doesn't have that, he's not going to be there. But if he has that, he's going to get himself in good
Remember
position.
Phil Housley?
Phil Housley, yeah.
Oh, a perfect example of what you're talking about. He was small back in the day when players were big and tough.
Right.
And he was smarter. He outthought everybody. And he'd go into the corner, and he'd come out with the puck.
Yeah.
Because he was
Hall of Famer, isn't he?
I believe so.
The Hall of Famer, but
Yeah.
but he was quick and strong too along that.
He was
right?
just a high school kid when he made it into the NHL.
From Canada, I guess.
Yeah, but a Cam York,
No,
I
he's
mean,
U.S.
Phil Housley American?
Yeah, pretty sure.
he is an American kid. Yep. But a guy like Cam York, I think he understands that a little bit more. I mean, he not a big guy, but he wins his battles.
All right, we got a lot of defense talk. Well, what makes an ideal defense pairing? We'll talk to Jim and Brad about that. Jeremy Roenick in the Hall of Fame. Brad played with him. No, you didn't. Did you?
Nope.
Nope, never played. We'll take that back.
That's
Just
one of the
before-
few that Brad didn't play with.
Whoa.
Played with-
Well, no, that tells you about the longevity of this guy. Huh?
Played a long time. Jim Watts played a long time. He's got a couple rings. A lot of people here at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington having a good time. Hope you are too. The Independence Blue Cross on the ice comes back right after this. Stay with us.
Nice.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, celebrating football season with special new menu items. The Kelsey Combo, created by number 62 himself, a handcrafted barbecue burger, world-famous crab fries, and an ice-cold garage beer. Our incredible jumbo soft pretzel, Chickie style, with a heaping skillet of our own in-house crab dip, and our delectable sweet heat wings, where a portion of the proceeds go to the A.J. Brown Foundation. Participating locations for a limited time. Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
BCWSA customers, former Phillies pitcher Tommy Green here. I played on the 1993 National League champs, so I know a thing or two about what it's like playing on a winning team. BCWSA has all the ingredients. They make it easy for their customers to get automatic updates by text, email, or phone anytime there is a disruption in your service area. You can even customize your alerts by going to bcwsa.net. That's bcwsa.net. BCWSA, your partner for a safer environment. BCWSA, proven.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
And we're back here at Chickies and Pete's, where tomorrow night there's a little important football game between the Eagles and the Commanders. No better place to watch than this side section of Chickies and Pete's just built. Fireplace, beautiful. The regular restaurant, beautiful. $3 Miller Lights, as our manager Luke says, from whistle to whistle. So come here to Chickies and Pete's Thursday night to watch a game called Thursday Night Football at Chickies and Pete's with a bunch of Eagle fans, and go berserk, folks. $3 Miller Lights. It's time now for the Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Player of the Week. This week it's newcomer Emil Andre, who we're going to talk about in a second, who's played terrific hockey across the board, paired with Travis Sanheim. Jimmy Drysdale injured. It's been an opportunity. He's taken advantage of it. Remember to choose Independence Blue Cross today and begin to live fearless. Emil Andre, guys, played 4 games for the Flyers last year. He's not a big guy by any means. Swedish guy, pretty good puck carrier. Comes in this year, boom, played 26 minutes with Sanheim, like out of nowhere. And looks like he should never go back, does he?
Well, he had a pretty good training camp this year, and he went down once again with a good attitude to Lehigh, and he played very well down there. So he earned his spot back up here in the roster. And
was there something he found that he's doing? It just seems like he's a different person.
well, I don't know about a different person or whatever. He was given a good opportunity to play with Sanheim, and he took advantage of it. But he looks like a seasoned veteran out there, not a young kid.
There's an example of a guy just taking advantage of a chance.
He's only 22, right?
You get an opportunity. Now, you know what? He ain't going to give it up either. That's what it appears like to me. He's like kind of mature beyond his years. 22 years old, comes in like this.
The only one that's not happy about it is Drysdale watching him from the press box.
It's a great problem to have. You have 10 great defensemen.
Exactly right. That's the way it works, man. It's the survival of the fittest, right?
Yeah.
And you better do your job and better be ready to play. And that's what makes hockey so great, or any sport for that matter, right? Yeah. It's competitive, and you got to be ready to go. And there's no excuses. That's the way it works.
So Drysdale was supposed to be the puck carrier that Andre is. I don't know about the physical strength part, but he's paired with Sanheim, number one. Tortorella clearly has confidence in him. What's the key to a defense pairing, guys? You can do it in a million different ways. How hard is it to switch pairings? Brad, you were paired with Brad for so long. It's...
He was paired with...
What?
Shel Samuelson.
No, Doug Crossman.
Doug Crossman.
Yeah, not Brad. Doug and Brad and Brad. Doug
I'll tell you what, that was the London, Ontario connection, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Huh?
You were both big guys. So what's the key to a good defense pairing?
Well, first of all, before you get into the pairings, you have to look at a defenseman as an individual. What a coach looks at and all the stats and analytics they have now is they look at, as a defenseman, the first pass out of the zone. And they look at, as a defenseman, a giveaway out of the zone. Or, as Jimmy mentioned earlier, is that battle in the corner. You lose a battle in the defensive end in the corner, and they come out with the puck, it usually ends up in your net. So those, to me, are the three main things that they look at as a defenseman. Okay, he's pretty good at that, so now they can plug him in with somebody that hopefully the chemistry. You mentioned me and Doug Crossman. Individually we were okay, but they put us together, and we were a very effective tandem or duo out there.
I mean,
they certainly were.
And you both play with a lot of different guys. I'm not going to say Emile Andre, after playing well for 2 weeks, is Mark Howe. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame. But is he that kind of guy? Mark Howe is not a big guy. Great puck carrier, Emile Andre. Is his ceiling probably below Mark Howe's, but to be that kind of player, Jim, that kind of smaller defenseman, needs to play with someone bigger like Travis?
I'm not going to say ceiling on anything. I mean, it's unlimited, right? We'll see what happens. Give him time. Let him go. Let him run with it. Look what he's done.
Should remind you of McCarr at all, Brad?
Those are big shoes to fill right there, and I don't like talking about McCarr because we maybe could have selected him instead of someone else at number 2 overall.
Yep.
Or that defenseman in Dallas. But it happened. Yeah. And, but, you said it. He's been unbelievable for 2 weeks. Let's see what the next 2 weeks brings. For a player like that, there's really there's no gray zone, because as soon as if he does make a mistake, or when he does make it, is he sliding back to where he was last year? Yeah. So every shift is his biggest shift of the game or of his career type of thing.
As good as your last shift, right?
So it really depends. Again, I talked about it earlier about the maturity of the individual. If he's mature, he's not going to let that happen, what Brad just explained here. Okay? He's got an opportunity. He's taking advantage of it. He's just going to build on it. And by rights, he shouldn't come back. He shouldn't go back. He should be here for the rest of the year, ready, and move on.
He's never going back.
No, I don't think he is, because it appears that he's smart. That's the other thing you asked about a defenseman. Well, the defenseman has to be a smart player, because if you're the last line of defense before the goalie, right?
The thing is forwards are dumb defensemen. They can't play defense, so we just move them up to forward.
Cornerbacks are wide receivers that can't catch. Forwards are dumb defense. All right, well, let's talk about a forward. Talking about coming up, if I went to everybody here tonight who was nice enough to come out Chickies and Pete's 2 weeks ago, said, hey, who's Anthony Richard? I don't know, does he work at the bank down the street? He gets called up, scored a bunch of points, 28 years old, kind of career 4A player, they call it in baseball, good enough to play well at the minor league level. Something's missing at the NHL level. He's played great. I'm not saying he's got the career track of Andre, but what do you think so far of Anthony Richard?
It's good, and it's kind of a story you're cheering for the guy. Okay,
Yep.
when the guy's younger, okay, he's a rookie, he's got lots of, but he's 28, he's been around the block, if you will, so you're kind of cheering for him.
Absolutely.
And once again, who knows a player when you're 28, how many more chances you're going to get or when you're going to get a sniff again. So it appears that he's taken full advantage of this opportunity to get some ice time, and we'll see where it goes. But like I said, a lot of people are cheering for him.
Yeah, look at he's a guy who looks like a little bit of a late bloomer, and he's gone through a lot, so he's seen a lot of things, and he looks like he's gained experience from it, and he's real serious right now about this situation, and consequently, he's put a couple other guys on the bench. They're not seeing the ice now, and that's the way it works. But he was wise enough to take advantage of this.
Was there any Broad Street Blue like that came out of nowhere that I might think was a prospect that wasn't, that wound up having a hell of a career?
You know what? I'm just trying to think that through. Not necessarily. We kind of came. Urs Kinderchuk was a little bit older when he came up through the minors. Maybe a couple years. He took him a couple extra years to figure it all out. But Urs turned out to be a tremendous player. But I would say a guy like that possibly. But we had a couple real good draft years. And that seemed to really, and we had a good combination of good, wily veterans, and then we had some real good young players, and then, of course, we had the great leadership of Bob Clark.
Brad, do you ever play with a guy who you looked next to during a game and said, "Who the hell are you?" and he wound up being a terrific player?
Off the top of my head, no. I remember Dougie Gilmore broke in with St. Louis, and I remember yelling at him, and off of face-off, and you get back and forth, and I was yelling at him, "Hey kid, don't bother getting comfortable. You're going right back down to the minors and all this stuff." And he was giving it back to me. "Hey, old man, why don't you retire? There's too many young kids." And so it's all good, fun stuff back and forth. But Dougie Gilmore turned out to be a heck of a player. He had just got called up at that time in St. Louis. But there's another kid that he worked hard every shift. He was competing, and that's what fans look at, and that's what the scouts look for, is your compete level each and every shift.
Yeah, and another thing is just getting an opportunity, right?
Yep.
So I look back to our team, the years of the Cups. There were a number of guys that came from other teams that couldn't play on those teams, right? Like a guy like Gary Dornhofer or Ross Lonsbury or even Joe Watson or Ed Van Imp, right? Those guys all came from teams that were let go. They let
Boston,
them go.
they were all in Boston.
There were,
Good
well, a
number
lot
of
of them, except Eddie came out of Chicago.
Yeah.
But now all of us, and Bernie came. Bernie Pront, imagine that. Bernie Pront can't play in Boston, right? But he comes to Philly and wins the Stanley Cup because he came to a great group of guys and great coach and great organization, but he certainly did his part and more, right? But getting an opportunity, and a guy like Dornhofer and Lonsbury, right? They ended up being over 20 goal scorers.
Yep.
Donnie Selesky came out of Quebec City. The Flyers had him, but it took him a while to figure it out. Then he made himself into a 30-goal scorer in the National Hockey League.
All right, I didn't want to necessarily have to get to this. It's been a little while now. It's been a couple months, but you haven't been here, and you run a rink, the Ice Works in Delaware County. You do a phenomenal job. Anything you want to say or promo in addition to what I'm going to ask you, you're welcome to. But there's another guy who runs a Hollydale in Jersey, Guy Gaudreau.
Yes.
Lost two sons, obviously, Johnny and Matt. Without going into it, everybody knows the story now. Anything you want to say about that?
Well, just tremendous. What can you say? I mean, it's just so sad. But I do want to say this: to Johnny's legacy, for the people here and anybody that's listening on air, Johnny Gaudreau was instrumental in the growth of hockey in the Delaware Valley, and for that matter, the United States and even in Canada, right? For certainly the smaller player. A lot of small players have always been told you can't make it, you're too small and whatnot. And Johnny heard that his entire life and never, ever listened to that. He knew how good he was. He was always said, well, the next level, he's not going to be able to play at that level. And then he would step into that level. In other words, when he came out of youth hockey, he went to the USHL. Well, a lot of people out there said, well, hell, this kid's too small. There's no way he'll ever do anything out here. Well, I think he led scoring as a rookie, or in the top 3 or 4. as a rookie, for gosh sakes. So now, well, he's not going to be able to play NCAA Division I college hockey. Well, of course, he goes to Boston College, right, and leads the nation in scoring. Okay, then he comes to the National Hockey League, and, well, teams all passed on him. The draft, they passed on him. He went in the third or fourth round with Calgary, for gosh sakes. Imagine at the third or fourth round, and look at how productive he was. So, you know, he was always told he was too small, so he inspired so many young kids, particularly in the Delaware Valley. I had a chance to tell him that one time, too, which I was really happy I was able to do that. And then also, just as in general, a player from this area playing as great as he did in the National Hockey League. So he was instrumental in helping grow the great game of hockey in the Philadelphia area.
Are you and Guy tight at all? Do you work with Hollydale? Hockey is a very small community.
Well, you know what? We go back a long way. When my kids were learning how to skate, Guy, I discovered that he was a tremendous skating coach. And I went and talked to him one time, and I actually convinced him and another gentleman, Tracy Ferridan, to run a skating camp over at the Stadium in Havertown Township. And he did a tremendous job. Guy was a great skating coach, and it showed he taught his sons how to skate, and they were tremendous skaters. I mean, they could just turn and stop on a dime, and that's what enabled them as smaller players to create time and space for them to make plays because of their shiftiness, their agility, and their quickness and whatnot on the ice with their skates.
Well said. Unfortunately, we know what happened, and hopefully the legacy. Johnny Gaudreau, to me, is either the best or second best player to ever come out of the Delaware Valley. Mike Richter would be the other one. But rest in peace. What else can you say? We're back with Jim. We're back with Brad. Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. Remember, come to the game tomorrow night. $3 Miller Lights. As Luke says, from whistle to whistle. We'll continue with the Independence Blue Cross on the ice with a great guest and a great co-host. Come on down and say hi right after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Our new menu includes our boneless wing special every Monday. Buy a single order of our mouth-watering boneless wings and get a snack order of boneless wings free. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, it's buy one, get one free snows. Buy any number of delectable snow crab legs and get the same amount free. Plus the Kelsey combo, tasty buffalo fried shrimp, seafood pasta in our famous Sicilian or red sauce. Participating locations for a limited time. Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
And it's time now for the Smart Stat of the Week, brought to you by our buddy Danny at Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY. That's 1-866-PAY-EASY. We've talked about this already, but this week John Tortorella scratched Matvei Michkov not once but twice against Tampa and Florida, something that brought reactions on both sides. He played better 5-on-5 on Monday night. Will it help down the road? Looks like it, but time will tell. That was your Flyer Smart Stat of the Week, once again brought to you by Payroll Service Solutions. Call them today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for the smart choice in payroll services. Payroll Service Solutions catering to small and medium-sized business to handle all of your payroll needs. Call them once again at 1-866-PAY-EASY. Jimmy, sometimes I feel like if somebody came in here and dropped a puck, you'd grab a stick and be right at it. Brad, too. Everybody wants to win a cup. It's been 50 years now, obviously. The Flyers are building. Obviously, they're likely not to win a cup this year, but Danny and Keith down the road looking at that only. What's the one ingredient, in your opinion, because you've been there, the team has to have, above all else, to win a cup?
I think for the positive for the Flyer fans, I don't think they're that far away. I honestly feel that way. I mean, you got to be optimistic, or else you've got no shot.
Sure.
And I think they're making a lot of steps. But these guys have got to keep playing and keep developing and keep learning, right? And if they get some goaltending, I mean, I look at some of these other teams, like the Rangers, for instance, right? They got beat up badly by
Their
Buffalo.
goal is so good.
Huh?
Their goalie's so good.
Well, yeah, but he got lit up the last 2 games, or 2 of the last 3 games. He got lit up. All right, so that tells you everybody is vulnerable. Carolina looks good, but yet you look at their lineup, they just come at you real hard. But there's not a ton of scorers or talent on that team. But they certainly don't get outworked, and that's probably the most important ingredient of a team. Because I don't mean that in a derogatory sense towards Carolina, because I really admire the way they play. But I don't think they have a ton of natural scorers. Okay, so my point is, I think the Flyers, if they get these guys to mature a little bit more, they've got a chance to be very, very difficult. I mean,
Brad, Jimmy talks about maturity all the time, and obviously it's an important topic. You were a veteran, obviously, toward the end of your career. This team has a lot of young kids. You want them to mature. How would you, if you were a veteran, if you were Konechny or whoever on this team, Sanheim at this point, what would you be trying to tell the young kids, and would you be there 24/7 if anybody needed you?
Well, I don't know if it's so much what you're going to tell them, because the kids have been coached and coached well, minor hockey through junior college or whatever. I think a veteran in this situation it leads by example. And so the Konechnys of the world, the veterans on the team, Scotty Lawton, et cetera, they have to be leaders on and off the ice. They have to be leaders every practice in the dressing room, because everybody wants to play the game. And I think that's the big thing from a leadership group in modern day sports, is leading by example. And so we do have some good kids. We do have some good veterans in the dressing room.
And you have a kid. We had him on the show last year, one of the nicest kids I've ever met. One of the great things in sports, in any sport, I don't care what it is, Mookie Betts in baseball, football is not like that, but an offensive lineman maybe is a Swiss Army knife. Somebody who can do more than one thing. And Noah Cates never played center in college. He's a wing. He's a working wing, third, fourth line guy, settled in under Tortorella. This year is becoming, they call him Coots Jr., somebody who can do a little bit of everything. Brad, Jimmy, whoever wants to go first, how important is Noah Cates to this team, and how important is having somebody like that?
Well, I mean, Noah Cates, he's, like you said, a third or fourth line player, right?
Yeah.
He fills in here and there, but he's very dependable, very reliable, and consequently, he's getting a lot more playing time now, right? He was sitting out earlier. John wanted to see what the rest of the guys were doing, but a lot of them just weren't getting it done, particularly defensively. And that comes first and foremost with any good coach. You have to be good defensively. You have to have coach has to have trust in you. And a guy like Noel Cates, he knows he can put him on the ice. He knows he'll do his job defensively. And then any offense he can supply, well, then that's just a bonus, right? So critical to have a guy like that in your lineup.
Brad, you got Scotty Lawton, you got Coots, you got Noah Cates. This team seems to have a few of those guys, huh?
Well, during the course of a season, a coach always wants to have in his arsenal on the bench. You always see the coach looking up and down, and he's thinking, who can he put out there? And the coach often puts out players that he can trust, because there's a lot of ebbs and flows in the game of hockey. And at some point in time, you have to put out the players you can trust. The power play, yes, they kind of lean towards the skill guys, because, they're one shot away from the big goal, if you will. But the last 5 minutes of a period, the last minute of a game, et cetera, you're putting out the players that you trust. And those guys that you just mentioned have earned the trust of the coaching staff. Not only this year, but in previous years.
It's very interesting that you say that, because Andre, who's been here again for 5 minutes, is playing on the power play. He's playing on the penalty kill, playing on everything. Did Fred Shiro ever trust somebody like that?
Well,
Mike Keenan, Brad, anybody like that?
Oh, absolutely, of course. I mean, if you show you can do it, you're in, and that's the way it is. You have to be able to depend on players. You can't always rely just on your stars. Everybody has to chip in, and that's what the Flyers are looking for.
All right, guys. Jeremy Roenick never played with Brad, but he played with a lot of other people. Wasn't sure if he'd ever get in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Got the call this year, 12 years after he retired, or 16, something like that. Was inducted Monday night, along with a few other guys, obviously. Made a nice speech, a long speech, credited Doug Wilson with saving his life in San Jose. Talked about how it was a match with Philly. Did you think Jeremy Roenick would ever get in, Brad?
Well, I don't know. I didn't follow his career. I remember playing against him when he was a rookie in Chicago, and he was a player right from his first game, because he wanted to play every shift. He wanted to be in on every forechecker. He hit hard. He could score hard. Like, he was a good player. And
did you hear the story told about Keenan in his speech? He was in the bathroom with Mike Keenan at the NHL draft when he was 18. And Mike Keenan's installed next to him. And Mike Keenan said, "Do you have the balls to play in this league?" And he said, "I have the balls to play for you." And he thinks that's the key to getting him drafted 8th by Chicago.
Well, that's a great line. Yeah. That's a great.
Take advantage of opportunity, right?
Good for Jeremy, but that's the kind of player he was. That's why he was great to watch. Loved watching Jeremy play hockey.
Was he obviously one of the best players in the world, but what was unique to him, Brad, that made him so tough? His compete
every shift. Like, he didn't take any time off. No. And he, as I said, I remember him from his rookie year. Yeah. He played hard, he hit hard, and he was tough to deal with on the ice.
Yeah, I heard a story about him, and I think I wish he was here. I could ask him if it was true, but apparently it is, because I've heard it a couple of times, where he was playing youth hockey, and he played on a couple different teams, and he would play a game in the morning, maybe down in Washington, D.C., and apparently sometimes he'd get on a plane and fly up to maybe Connecticut and play a game in the evening for another team that he played on, just because he loved to play the game so much. That was a commitment he had.
Yep. And was it Pavel Datsyuk got inducted this year?
He did.
A lot of people say, you look at his numbers, not about numbers in some people's minds. Said good player, really good player, but Hall of the Very Good. What's the difference in Hall of the Very Good?
Listen, he won Stanley Cups.
I'm not saying he was. I'm just saying
and he was productive on those teams. He was like the key guy on those teams. So naturally, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
It's about winning, isn't it? I mean, you can have all the numbers.
Of course it is.
Yep.
Totally about winning.
Yep. And Hall of Fame. Women are starting to get recognized, starting to get inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Doesn't mean you haven't had a good career if you didn't win. Of course, you can't look at it that way either. Yeah. But listen, that's what it comes down to, and that's only what can be, is to win. But there's a lot of great players, unfortunately, that didn't get there. Brad Marsh, a great player.
Terrific player.
Huh?
Brad, I'm going to ask each of you guys this question. Think for a second, who's the best player you ever played with or against that you would put in the Hall of Fame if you were in charge, but isn't?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Yeah. I'd really have to be thinking on that one and maybe refer to old hockey database.
Well, for me, it would be Ricky McLeish for the Flyers.
I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because Ricky McLeish for us. Okay, so when our time, Bradley,
did he get lost on a great team?
Well, no, he didn't get. He kind of, because we had Clarkey as the number one centerman.
And he had Reggie.
He was kind of like the second centerman, Ricky. Yeah. But the 2 years we won the Stanley Cup, Ricky led us in scoring, for God's sakes, and nobody even really knew it. I mean, and all those years I played with Ricky, I really came to appreciate him, because he just produced for us. He made it happen. So I love the guy, and he left this earth way too early.
Oh, yeah.
But he was a tremendous player. And you know what made him stand out? He wasn't afraid to do his own thing. And he told me a story one time, Ricky, where back in the, I guess it would be the late 50s, early 60s, he took figure skating lessons as a hockey player.
Wow.
Well, nobody did that. Nobody did that. And Ricky had the foresight, the vision to do that, and it made him consequently into a great player with great edges. And the thing with Ricky, if you remember the fans that are here with us tonight, when he would skate up the ice, it looked like he was hardly moving, but nobody could catch him. You know what I mean?
Well, I remember the game, and Brad and I were talking about this last week. It was in Ottawa, who the Flyers play tomorrow night, and Ricky McCruz come down the left wing with the puck, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, did a triple axel and kept the puck. That was unbelievable. Kidding, Brad.
Yeah, because Ottawa wasn't in the league when Ricky.
You're
exactly right. Where the hell are you going with that one, Paul? But listen.
Off the rails. They play Ottawa tomorrow night.
Off the rails. There you go. Perfect. Yes.
All right, one more segment. We love to talk for hours with these guys. Every week I say that because every week we will. The great co-host, Brad Marsh. Our guest, Jimmy Watson, is the absolute best. We'll talk about some other stuff about the Flyers, see where they're going from here under torts, and much more hockey when we come back with the Independence Blue Cross on the ice. Stay with us, folks.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles. Make a selection from our seasonal food menu, then unwind with one of our sensational cocktails. The South Philly Sizzle, made with Bird Gang Habanero Tequila. Stateside Pumpkin Pie featuring stateside vodka, rum chata, and pumpkin puree. Delicious fiery sangria, tasty spiced apple punch, or the Campfire Mule. At participating locations for a limited time, the official sports bar of your Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
Payroll Service Solutions was established in 2001 to cater to the payroll needs of small to medium-sized businesses. Payroll Service Solutions offers unparalleled customer service while they deliver a complete and accurate payroll. When calling Payroll Service Solutions, you will never be put into a voicemail or go through a series of prompts to get to a person. All customer service representatives are extensively trained to handle all of your payroll needs, therefore saving you time. They value each and every one of their clients. No account is too small. Call Payroll Service Solutions today at 1-866-PAY-EASY for a no-obligation review of your payroll needs. That number again is 1-866-PAYEASY. Payroll Service Solutions.
You won't see termites crawling across your floor, but thousands might be devouring the wood in your walls, weakening the structure of your home. For over 50 years, Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley has been in the exterminating business. If you think you have a pest problem, they're the experts. Call them today at 215-639-5455. That's 215-639-5455 for TPPC. Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley gives your home or business peace of mind, knowing your pest problem is in their hands. Located at 1560 Bristol Pike in Bensalem, they use only EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call Termite Proofing and Pest Control of the Delaware Valley at 215-639-5455.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for On the Ice, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and former Flyer Brad Marsh.
And we are back here at Chickies in Warrington, enjoying ourselves. Flyers play again against Ottawa tomorrow night. Lots of stuff going on in the NHL. Psychologically, guys, John Tortorella, I mean, you guys each played for Psych Masters, Fred Shero in Jim's case, Mike Keenan and others in Brad's case. And John Tortorella seems to have, whether it's scratching Michkov, changing lines 18 times during the game. A lot of John Tortorella, again, everybody knows X's and O's at this level, is the psych game. How important is that, Brad?
I don't know. I think with John, you talk to any player, like the head games, he's not playing head games with the players. Every player knows where they stand with John. He's very open. You're not working hard, he tells you. You're floating out there, he tells you. You're in the press box, he tells you, and he tells you why you're in the press box. I've had coaches that do play those head games. They don't talk to you, they ignore you, and so on and so on. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's no room in any sport or in anywhere for head games because, a young athlete, when you start messing with his head.
Didn't Keenan play head games with you?
Oh, for heaven's sakes, yeah. Maybe not with me so much, but there's all kinds of stories of him playing head games and messing with people and not talking to people and switching their seats up in the dressing room and all that kind of stuff. The one thing, and I don't know, I've never played for John, but the one thing that I hear constantly is his players know where they stand. There's no gray area. He's very up front with everybody, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Freddie the Fog, Jim, was called Freddie the Fog because of what?
Well, because he looked like he was almost disinterested in the game. Sometimes when you'd see him, he'd be walking down with his head kind of down and head glasses kind of falling over his nose, and he'd kind of look up at you, and he sometimes wouldn't even hardly acknowledge you. He was kind of shy, so he kind of walked around that way and just like, well, what's going on here, you know? But then when he would get up in front of the blackboard and give us our morning talk, or when he would set up the practice, well, then he was all over everything. He knew exactly what he was talking about. So he was quite wise, but he never came off that way until you got to know him. And then, so somebody came up with, I think it was maybe Eddie Van Ipp or something, came up with the Fog comment, but he was a bright man.
More than one way to skin a cat, and players have some odd things also. Hockey is a game of superstition. Nobody touches the Stanley Cup until you win it. There's a jillion others. But one that kind of intrigues me, guys, is the nap. The morning skate, every team skates in the morning before a game, and almost everybody, and I'm including referees, players, takes like a 2-hour nap, whether you're on the road in a hotel or home. Did you guys take the nap, and where'd that start?
I don't know where it started, but it was the mainstay in hockey, and it wasn't a 2-hour nap. I guess some guys maybe did, but I just basically, I had a short nap, but it was a nap, and I remember when I retired, we kept the kids in that routine. Daddy's got to have a nap now, and now that I'm an old man, I love that afternoon nap too, Jimmy. But no, I don't know where it started or where it came from. I assume the other sports do it too, but hockey is.
I'm sure the basketball player, if he's playing at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, he's got all day to sit around. He has his basketball shoot around. Yep. And then he probably goes home and lays down for a while.
I haven't heard the routine. Joel Embiid apparently goes home and hurts his knee and talks about it. Who knows?
Well, but they do rest. They have to have enough.
Did you ever miss a game? You ever oversleep?
No. I didn't. I never slept that much. I'd lay down. I'd read for a while. Maybe have a quick 15, 20-minute nap, and then I'd just get up and lay in bed and read, something like that, just to relax. Okay?
All right, guys, we've got about 5 minutes left. We like to look forward. This team, it looks like it's changing direction, going in the right direction. Give me one player who, if we're here 3 months from now, we'd love to have you again, Jimmy. If we're here 3 months from now, we'll be talking about him in a much different way than now. Somebody who's going to take a giant leap, in your opinion, Brad?
Well, I hope we're talking 3 months from now and how well Mitchkov continued to respond to be sat out at the first start of the year. He's had one game and responded well. Wouldn't it be great 3 months from now and he's, I'll say it, a 50-goal scorer, and we can look back and say, geez, John Tortorella looked like a genius that he sat him out. And so I just hope we can continue to talk in a very positive way about this team. We've had a good two games in Florida, outplayed two of the top teams in the league. Right. We come home, and everyone's saying, oh, it's just San Jose. But it was a win. You never dissect a win. It was a win. They clawed back in the game. We found a way to win. I'll tell you what, that last part of the third period in the overtime was exciting. The building
that was one of the best overtimes I've ever seen.
The building was electric, man.
Yeah.
And so I just hope we're still talking in these positive tones, in these positive ways 3 months from now.
Yeah. The guy for me, and he's been real good all year. I'm not going to. He is Sanheim. He has been the leader of this team. He's been the best player, in my opinion, all year to this point. Okay, and he's critical to the team. But As he goes, it seems like the Flyers go. He's all over the ice if you watch the game closely, right? He's in on everything. He's been tremendous. Konechny has been, I think, really good too.
York have a very high ceiling, in your opinion?
York, he might be. I don't know how high a ceiling he's got. He's been playing well. He's played very well, actually. But I like Sanheim. I like Konechny. York has been good. Forster, I think, it looks like he's coming on. He's got a chance to be really good, I think.
The one guy that's kind of stuck in neutral but is a really good player, to me, is Tippett.
Well, we're going to talk about him, right? But he appears to be getting a little bit better here. Yep. Coming around. He's a guy, it appears to me, that maybe the way Torts comes hard on players is having an effect on him at times. And he's trying to figure out how he's going to deal with him and get past it. Because Torts gets going, and it looks like Tippett's kind of like a little shy or removed. And that gets him in trouble a little bit with Torts possibly. But he's critical. Those two guys, Forster and Tippett, I think are going to emerge out of this and become very, very productive players.
All right, you can't win without a goaltender. The backup goalies, both Russians, have had good spots, bad spots. Maybe neither one's ready for the NHL. We'll find that out soon enough. Sam Erson's very important to this team for obvious reasons. He's played very well at times. He was unbelievable in the overtime the other night. Stole him a point for sure. What do you think when you say Sam Erson? What do you think of? Does he have the ability to be a top NHL goalie, Brad?
I'd like to see him play more. Never mind this resting and rotating the goalies, because your other two goalies are not very good, and I'm being polite. I would like to see, I don't know who's playing tomorrow, but he's had 2 days off.
He'll be in tomorrow.
And then we come back Saturday, put him in again. They fly home after the game tomorrow night. He's got all day Friday and all day Saturday to rest for a Saturday night game.
No, he'll be in for both those games. Johnny's going to he's going to give him the extra time now.
Do you guys like the way the goaltenders are going? When you played, Jimmy, Bernie played 60 games, 65. Now you got two goalies. Anthony Stolarz is doing a hell of a job up in Toronto.
Yes, he is. But Erson has really showed he can play. He's really come on. I mean, really, he dealt with a lot of things last year with the situation with Hart when he came in, and they were doing so well, right? And then Hart, unfortunately, what happened to him. So now Erson is all of a sudden, injected right in as the number one guy. And all the pressure's on him, and it had an effect on him, I believe. But now he's come back again for his second year, and it hasn't affected him at all. He has really taken it and ran with it.
All right, Brad, 2 seconds we got. If there was a player in the NHL whose nickname was Elmer, the Glue, it would be Scott Lawton to me. He's the prototypical team player. You love team. I assume you love Scott Lawton. Just a great player. What do you think of him?
I'll use your example, Elmer. Yeah. He's the glue, the key. I didn't know where you were going with that one either. But no, and I've said it many times, every team, it doesn't matter what sport you're in, they need the Scotty Lawton type players on their roster. Yes, they won't be the headlines game in and game out, but he's the glue. Players like him are the glue that keep the team going on the ice, in the dressing room, at practice, et cetera, et cetera.
That's a great way to end it. I mean, you want to say something?
Well, I disagree with Brad entirely. Absolutely, right on.
Jimmy Watson, we love having you as a guest. Your energy, your joie de vivre. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Come back anytime you want. Thank you so much for being here.
What was that word?
Joie de vivre. It's a French word.
Wow.
Joy for life.
Joy for life. That's it, baby.
You can't be upset around Jim Watson.
No, you can't be. You can't
it's impossible.
You can't be.
Anything at Iceworks real quick?
Iceworks is kicking. Come and see us. Anybody out there? We got all kinds of programs there. All kinds of men's and women's hockey, girls, boys hockey. We got a program for everybody. Come out and give it a try.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us, Jim. Brad, we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you.
Thank everybody for coming. Thank Chickies and Pete's for having us. From Chickies and Pete's in Warrington, in this beautiful new section, the manager, Luke. Appreciate it. Chris Sommer produced this fine program. Stephen Lawler, a phenomenal job at the station. As always, for Brad and Jimmy, I'm Paul Jolovitz. For Independence Bluecrest on the Ice. See you next week. Frank Bialowas at Roosevelt Boulevard. Go Flyers.
Good job.
You're listening to 1490 WBCB and on your FM dial at 107.3 W297CL Levittown.